What up, fools? Alright, here we are going to start a project here where we work with Cinema 4D and do a little 3D modeling, and we're going to make something that looks like this, sort of. Something like that. So what we got here is the old Hartford Whalers, an old hockey team, their logo, and we use Cinema 4D. We use some effects here in After Effects, like the snow, and we use like this light here, and then we have a spotlight that's only illuminating the logo. So basically we're going to recreate this, but you can choose whatever logo you want. My suggestion would be to use a sports team's logo, because they're usually pretty simple, and you'll see why I want you to keep it pretty simple. Right, if we look at this logo, we have like this one, 2, and then the outlines of that, 3, 4, and then the whole thing outline. 5 outlines, 5 things here, so it's not very complicated. I would suggest finding a logo that is, you know, pretty basic, but it does need to have at least 3 outlines, 3 parts to it. Like, you know, the Cincinnati Reds logo would just be a C, and that would not be difficult or exciting or interesting at all. So I need you to find a logo, and I will start a new project here. The first thing that I want you to do, well, let's talk about the project here for a second. It's going to be broken down into 6 sections. The first one, logo selection and prep. We're going to be using Illustrator to prep the logo, and logo selection is what we're going to do right now. The second part of the assignment, Cinema 4D, like a beginner's guide, a real quick beginner's guide to how to use Cinema 4D, and then how to set up the logo inside of Cinema 4D. Then we're going to talk about extruding the logo. That's another part of the assignment, and that just means making it 3-dimensional. And then we're going to create materials for the logo, and when I say materials, I mean like the colors. But you know, here we have, like, if these colors are very reflective, you can see the ice off of it, and so that's why we call it materials and not just colors. And part 5 would be setting up the scene, lights, camera, and action, meaning we have lights here, we have the spotlight, and we have another light shining onto the logo itself, and then the camera is moving here. We've animated the camera to move around the logo. You could animate the logo if you wanted to. You can animate anything you want in Cinema 4D. And then action is the actual movement of it. Okay, that's the 5th part of the assignment. And then 6, adding effects and exporting a Cinema 4D project in After Effects, which is the step we're at here. So adding effects like the snow or this light shining off of it. I'm going to try and go as fast as possible while still trying to explain why we're doing what we're doing here. So yeah, this is going to be a long video, but it is broken down into 6 different sections. So, all right, first step, finding a logo. I'm going to, let's see, we'll try a football logo. How about I do, and I don't care what sports team you use. It could be NFL, NBA, MLB, MLS. It could be another logo too. It doesn't have to be sports, but I just want it to be, I just want to make sure it's not too complicated. We'll try NFL football logo, and okay, let's see which one we want to get. Just because I've done this so many times, I can tell you some of these are going to be too difficult. I mean, the Colts one would be super easy, and the Bears would be almost too easy. The Seahawks would be kind of cool. You want to do the Seahawks? Let's do the Seahawks. You guys can pick any logo you want, and it should be fairly simple to follow along with here. Let's do the Seahawks. Okay, so what you need to do is find a high quality image. You want a high quality image, and you don't want any like fading here, like shading. See how this like it kind of goes from like dark gray to light gray. You don't want that. You want a high quality image. Let's do this should work. We're gonna go with this. So I'm gonna create a folder real quick on the desktop. I'm gonna call it logo. There'll be a couple of different things we put in here. I'm gonna go back to the internet. I'm gonna right click on this and say save image as, and I'm gonna save it to that logo folder I just created and call it Seahawks logo. And it's saving as a PNG, and that's fine. JPEG would be fine. PNGs probably good here for us. So I'm just gonna hit save. And now we're gonna open up Illustrator. So this is part of the first step, the prep. We have to prep this logo before we bring it in to Cinema 4D. So I'm gonna open up Adobe Illustrator. Your Adobe oh, it's already open, I'm sorry. Your Adobe Illustrator, let's go file new, might look a little bit different here than mine. What you want to do is create a new, and if you go over to film and video, I think, no, web, no, film and video. Film and video HD, we want 1920 by 1080. Okay, this is the one that we want to create, and I like to keep mine here at landscape mode, and then I'm just gonna hit create. Okay, it comes up with the transparency grid, so it's showing there's nothing. There's no background behind it, which is good. That's what I want. You can turn that off if you want. If you go up to view, hide transparency grid, it'll make it a white screen. It's totally up to you. When I'm doing the logos especially, prefer having the transparency grid on. And then all I'm going to do is open up that folder. You can open it up down here in the bottom left hand corner here, and then I just look for desktop in that logo folder, and I'm just going to take the Seahawks logo and drag it in here. I'm really hoping this is good enough quality. I'm just going to center it up. Okay, now yours might be over here. You might not have this available to you up here in your Illustrator, but you will over here. Image trace is what we want, image trace. But if it's more than like 2 colors, I like to, just because it does a better job of tracing the image, click this little arrow by tracing presets, and I'm going to choose, let's see how many colors we have here, white, blue, green, gray. I'm going to choose 6 colors here, and then it's going to prep it, and there we go. If it doesn't change that much, it's a good enough, it's a high quality image, and that's what you want. If it does like change it a little bit to the point where you can't like make out what the image is, that means you need a higher quality image. So one more step here is, and we're going to expand, we're going to convert the tracing object into paths, right? So I'm going to hit expand, and there we go. Now I'm going to change my selection tool from the selection tool to the direct selection tool, meaning I can choose these individual paths that it's created. So I'm going to click on this arrow and click off, deselect everything, and now it's made everything that you see here into individual paths, and if I hover my mouse over, I can see it highlighting the individual paths, and that's what we want. So what I'm going to do is click on this box, because we don't need this gray box. I'm going to click on this, and then I'm just going to hit backspace. And sometimes you might have to hit it twice, because it just deleted this top part here. Hit backspace twice, get rid of that. I'm going to click on this, get rid of that. I'm going to click on this, get rid of that. Click on the black box. Alright, so now I'm just left with the Seahawks logo. This is why I keep the the transparency grid on, because if it was a white box, you wouldn't be able to tell that it had all those different paths underneath it. So now this definitely has a lot more paths than what you're seeing, and it's because it's made one of the paths in color and one in just outline. So you're gonna have to do a little bit of prep work here. So with the direct selection, and I'll show you what I mean. With the direct selection tool still highlighted, I'm gonna highlight everything here. So I'm just gonna click over here and drag a box around it. So it's selected all of those paths. And if I look down here, it's telling me that it has a question mark in the fill box because it has different fills. It's not all the same. So what I want to do is change the fill to nothing, none, no fill. And then I want to change, now I'm going to click on the stroke, which is just the outline, and I'm going to change that to black. Okay, and then if I click off, now you can see I just have the outlines, and that's all I'm worried about. Now, if you want to test some of this stuff before you bring it into Cinema 4D, it will save you some time. Like if I click on just this outline here, okay, and I hit backspace. I hit backspace twice. See how the outline's still there? It's because it made multiple copies of that outline, right? So when you bring it into Cinema 4D, it's going to bring in multiple copies of each outline. But, so I'll click on this one and delete that, backspace, and it's still there. But if I were to click on that and delete this, then it's gone. Now that's a problem, right? So I'm gonna Control Z that. So I want to get rid of the duplicates is basically what I'm doing. And it looks like it's made a duplicate for every outline. So I'm just clicking on these outlines, deleting the duplicates. I think that might be it, right? Yeah, I need that one. Okay, so in theory, I should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, about 8 paths that I bring in here. Okay, so we've done our prep work. We're ready to bring the logo into Cinema 4D. We have to save this now as something that Cinema 4D is going to recognize, and it won't recognize a regular Illustrator file. So when you go to save, I'm going to hit File, Save As, and I'm going to go to Desktop and find that logo folder, and I'm going to call it Seahawks outlines. All right, and then I'm going to hit Save. I'm saving it as an Illustrator file, save. But now here's what you have to remember to do, and we're going to change the version from Illustrator CC to Illustrator 8. It's the only thing that Cinema 4D is going to recognize. So I'm going to change it to Illustrator 8 and hit OK. And it's going to say, you know, are you sure you want to do this? And you're going to say, yeah, I'm sure. And you're going to hit OK. And we are done with, actually we're not done with Illustrator because I use it to find the colors for the logo. So anyways, we'll leave this open. We'll just minimize it, and now we will open up After Effects. So when you open up After Effects, you're just going to hit New Project. A box will pop up, and you'll hit, actually I can close this and just show you exactly what to do here. Double click on After Effects. Yours should look like this. This is the only way to get to Cinema 4D is through After Effects because we have Cinema 4D Lite. We don't have the full version of it. Anyways, I should mention we are done with this first part here. So at this point you should raise your hand and show me your outlines of your logo, and it should look like this, right? So before you bring it into Cinema 4D, this is going in the grade book. So raise your hand, show me your outlines, and I will put the grade in there. Step 1 done. Go ahead and we'll highlight that. Done.